From New York to Paris, from Sardinia to St. Barts, Norma Cohen Productions has orchestrated over 100 events a year for some of the world's most prestigious clientele. She started at just 12 years old, planning events for her local community center as a volunteer. A natural businesswoman turned designer, Norma created show-stopping spectacles around the world. The entrepreneurial spirit is the cornerstone to the American dream, a beacon to all willing to weave their story into the fabric of our history. I'm Elliot Dweck, and this is From the Founder.
Hi, welcome. How are you? Good, nice to see you.
Norma Cohen, I would introduce you, but you need no introduction. I'll just start with this. Prize Magazine named you one of the top wedding planners in America. So, first, before anything, thank you for being here.
Of course, so flattered.
When was Norma Cohen Productions founded?
25 years ago.
How old were you when you were involved in the first event that you planned, when you were on the committee of the Sephardic Community Center?
So I was very young, I was around 12. I had this energy that I wasn't being fulfilled what I was doing.
What do you mean, what you weren't being fulfilled what you were doing?
In other words, I wasn't that girl that wanted to be with her friends all the time. You know, it was some things were not, I was very sensitive, and girls are not that nice at 12. And it was an escape for me.
And when you were in a position where you're now involved in planning an event or planning a trip, did you feel differently about yourself?
I thought it was the greatest thing. I was so lucky. And then when I was 16, I became a board member.
Do you remember what made them say, okay, we want to make this 16-year-old girl?
I think I wasn't letting up. I believe that, you know, that's my personality. And you know what, when someone's performing and producing, you bring them on board.
Where did it come from?
So I am very lucky. I come from two parents. My dad was an amazing, amazing businessman, sharp as a tack. And my mom is very creative and beautiful and entertains gorgeous and was always organized. So I think the pair together was an amazing match.
Were you planning on working in your dad's business? Were you planning on being a stay-at-home mom? Like, do you remember what you were thinking?
I probably would have worked with my dad. My cousins laughed. They said, if you came in the business, we'd all be fired.
So, okay, this is your basement.
This is my basement.
Doesn't look like an average basement. Doesn't look like my basement.
There's a lot of history here.
There's a lot of history in this basement. So it's your whole career.
Right here.
Really in one room.
Right. Yeah.
Are you a hoarder?
I'm a hoarder.
You are.
Yeah, I guess you could tell.
All right, so now you're 16, right? You're now on the board, youngest member. Was your personality today the same way it was then?
For sure. I was always energetic, making things happen.
During this time.
Sensitive.
When you say sensitive, what do you mean?
You know, I have a lot of feelings, so the same reason why I went there was because I might have felt bad about something. Those things happen too when you're in a group and a committee and planning things. It doesn't always go perfect, and you get emotional about it, and you just gotta pick up and say, okay.
When you were single, you met your husband on a ski trip?
I did.
And you were dating for a little bit, and then I heard that you gave him an ultimatum.
I did. So I met him on a center ski trip, and we dated several months, and he drove me crazy. And then June came around, and summer was starting, and I went to the diner in E10, and I said, Michael, you're out, you know, what's the story? So he says, you could be engaged in a week, but you gotta give up your business. I can't marry a girl working weekends and nights. So I said, great. I was opening up a store at the time. It was a balloon store.
Party Expressions.
Right. I was opening a store. I was beyond excited. I was 21 years old and closed down, never went. I got engaged. I got married. One day, somebody called me, an old client, and said, would you plan my 40th birthday? I went to Michael, I said, Mike, guy's calling me back. I think it's time. He said, sure, do whatever you want to do.
He was nervous originally.
Very nervous. He couldn't imagine what kind of mother I'm gonna be. A working woman in those days was absolutely crazy.
Right.
And I proved them all wrong.
Yeah. So a few years later, you come back into the business. Client calls you, you say, Mike, I think it's time. He says, go for it. Now you're back in. So you transitioned more from bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs to primarily weddings, right, over time?
So I was very busy doing all these bar mitzvahs and engagement parties or just nothing serious parties. And my best friend married a man that had 4 kids. And they called me up and they said, he told me my daughter's getting married. Would you do an engagement and would you do the wedding? So it was my first wedding, Shir Zayin. And he gave me the chance and the platform to show I could do weddings. I'm forever grateful for him and my friend. And it's been history ever since. I became the wedding planner.
Did you not think you could do it, or you just didn't have the right opportunity?
You know what, I always say people need a chance. People need the opportunity. I got the opportunity and I'm very thankful. So that's how I became the wedding planner.
So I was reading that you kind of grew with the industry.
But I grew in my own bubble. Like I didn't know the industry and the industry didn't know me. I was very lucky to have my bubble in Midwood and Flatbush, and I didn't really know anybody till a few years ago.
Okay, so let's talk about a few years ago. What happened that you're now known around the world?
Preston Bailey, one of my dear friends, called me up and said, would you like to be my guest at an Engage Summit in Puglia, Italy? So now I'm Preston Bailey's date for 6 days in Italy, and I didn't know anybody. The next day at the pool, I met a woman. We're talking, what do you do? Whatever, what does your husband do? I go, my husband owns M&J Trimming. Well, I could have said I was the first lady. Do you know who this girl is? She's the wife of M&J Trimmings. My mother made my wedding gown from M&J Trimming, and every party I ever did came from M&J. And she went around the whole pool and introduced me to everybody at the pool. And that's how I found everybody.
Okay, first of all, how many events do you think you've done in your career?
If you ask me how many I do in a year, I think I'm up to 150.
50?
A year.
Wow.
Here, we have all of my stuff. Anything that I could ever need, pull out in a meeting.
So you'll bring up the tablecloths and say, like, what do you like?
Right.
So a couple comes to you and they say, okay, Norma, we're gonna get married and we want you to plan the wedding. Walk me through the process.
First, I start by saying I do everything. You're getting a service, full service. Then they tell me what they want, where they want to do it, what's the budget, and then I curate a budget.
So location and budget are the first 2 things.
I don't start with that. Approved budget.
Yeah, you have a strong reputation for never ever going over budget.
Strong.
Which is very impressive.
It's my stamp. It's very, I don't know how you know that, but I take pride in that.
So after location and budget, okay, everything's approved, good. What's the next step?
An invitation. This is every invitation since I was invited to a party, alphabeticalized, and the parties that I've done. So.
You have my parents' wedding invitation sitting right here. So, okay, they went with the son of. I know you're a big fan of the son of.
How do you know that?
I know.
Oh my God, that's like a curve. I'm a big fan of the son of.
You love the son of.
I'm very, very big into the son of.
Why?
It's the right way. You know, it's the Tiffany way, it's the Cartier way, it's what we always used to do.
Son of.
Son of.
Right there. That's gorgeous. Wow.
That's so funny that you knew that. I don't include invitation in my job description, but I like to be involved in the invitation because I feel that by sitting on the table with the mother and the daughter, I'm getting to know them on a casual basis. I'm getting to know their style. I'm seeing what they're picking, what their liner, what color, what kind of ink. I'm learning a lot about them in that process, which I love. So we do invitation, and then the next meeting would be, I would probably say, what does the bride want? Do you want white? Do you want blue? Do you want purple? Do you want multicolor? Do you want black and white? Do you like big tables? Do you like small tables? Do you like round tables? Do you like what? And I'll get that. Is the bar important? Is the bar not important? Everybody has a different opinion. I ask all those questions, and I say, okay, great. You'll come back, and I'm gonna set it up, and you'll tell me what you like.
What do you mean by set it up?
I'll make a floor plan. We start with a floor plan. I also want to add by saying that when I started at a younger age, in the beginning of my career, I was much more of a businesswoman. And as I got more involved, I took a 360. I became a designer, decorator.
So it sounds like design was the one skill that you didn't have originally.
Did not have it.
How did you learn it?
Self-taught. Every time I did a party, I said, oh my God, this is great, next time I'm gonna do this. And that's what happened.
So after you have that initial meeting, who were the first people you called?
So I make a list of vendors.
How many meetings would you say you have from beginning to end with the same client on one event?
It really depends. I would say the lucky number would be a dozen.
Wow.
And they're not all, it's hours long, some are 10 minutes.
Do you ever have brides that come to you with like crazy requests?
I've had bridezillas.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you do?
I cry.
So all of these awards are charity awards.
Yes.
What's the story behind all these? Like,
So as I told you, I started at the Sephardic Community Center, and I'm so thankful for what the center gave to me, which are my skills and my experience and everything I am. I always like to give back.
The Sephardic Community Center really made the right decision by putting you on the board at 16.
Yes. So
Think about how much you gave back to them just from...
it's the number one. I never forget where it came from.
Okay, so here's a question that I've been thinking about. You've worked in a few venues many times. And you deal with a lot of similar people coming to the same venues. A bride comes to you and says, I want my wedding to be different. I want my wedding to be special. And now it's in the same place that you've done 1,000 weddings in with mostly the same people who have seen the same exact venue each time, but this bride wants this hall to look completely different than it ever looked. How do you do that?
So every bride has that. And most of my career was in the same 2 rooms, and I had to renovate a new concept every time. So that was one of my strong points. I was always able to do.
Do you think about it? Do you think I gotta make this look different?
Of course. But the brides are different, so they're feeding you a little bit different elements. Getting all the ingredients together, I'm always able to change it around. Because every party looks like my couple. It doesn't look like me.
Oh my gosh.
So basically, the bride wanted a garden in a very ornate ballroom, so we decided to make the Monet French gardens. And I thought the mix would be great.
This is so nice.
So let me show you around.
Okay.
Did this whole thing. The scenery was not here.
How long does this take to build?
We came yesterday at about 8 a.m. and the structure was built by, I'd say 3, and then the next layer of things came.
It sounds like there's a lot of late nights, right? A lot of sleepless nights, right? Like, let's say that night, like you're there till 1 in the morning. Like, I'm sure it's typical to be there very late at night, the night before. Give me an idea of what are the hours like?
So most of the time, There's no sleep. It's all night. There's no sleeping.
So from the night before the wedding?
I'm up.
Till the wedding.
Lots of coffee.
It's like a 30-hour run.
Yeah. Tons and tons of coffee.
And you do that a lot of times a year.
A lot.
Touching on work habits a little bit, I've heard that every single email that you receive, you print out, annotate, and you scan it back. Is that true? When did this start?
So one thing we didn't talk about is I'm very old-fashioned.
Okay.
I'm old school. I have a paper and I have a pen. I write things down, mostly in my memory, but if I was to start a list, it would be with a pen and paper. So I'm running around all day long. I'm going from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. There is 100% probability that I'm gonna miss very important emails. I'm human, right? And no one else is answering them. I'm the only one answering them. So at the end of the day, I have my assistant print out every email, and you would be surprised how many I miss during the day. And I love it. It's like a recap of my craziness.
Tell me something about you that no one knows.
Something about me that no one knows, or that I think no one knows.
Yeah.
I'm extremely sensitive. I cry in a millisecond. I'm very sensitive. I take a lot of things to heart. Like, I want to please everybody. I need to know that you like me, because I could be difficult and I could be misunderstood. Misunderstood was something that happened to me my whole life. I was always misunderstood. People always thought I was not nice or this or that, and then they meet me, they go, I can't believe it, you're not what I expected you to be. You're very easy to get to know, and you're very easy to like, and I thought this whole other thing about you, and I go,
well, how come, like, why do you think that you're misunderstood?
I don't know. Very misunderstood. People think I'm not nice, or I'm tough, or I'm so not those things.
One thing we didn't touch on that you mentioned was we didn't discuss family at all, and we didn't discuss work-life balance and what it was like raising 4 kids in an industry like this where you're doing 150 events a year.
Right.
It's like, it sounds almost impossible.
So I worked out of my home, so it was very helpful that I was in the house.
Right.
And the only times I wasn't in the house was when I was at the party. Time management is something that I pride myself on. You know, balancing it, deciding what I need to do, what I don't have to do. So in the beginning, I stopped making dinner. I had somebody come and help me prepare the dinner because I felt like it takes time to cook, and instead of cooking, I could be with my kids.
Right.
So I had to juggle the responsibilities that were more important to do.
I feel like you've done this so many times. What drives you to keep going?
I love the connection with the people. I love the people. They're my family. They become my family.